Okay, so you got through that video. Well, I guess you had no choice because I made it where you had to at least click on the video. But what we're going to do is we're going to take that cross, we're going to make it even easier. Because here's what I didn't tell you. That essentially that white space can be broken down into 4 quadrants, where we have negative numbers and where we have positive numbers. So essentially, guys, to make this easier, not because you can't do it, most of our focus is always going to be on numbers that are positive, right? So essentially, we're going to be where our line is going to look like the letter L. As I said, we're going to have the x-axis and the y-axis. So the x-axis is left to right. The vertical axis is the up and down. And one more thing, where they meet or intersect is called the origin. All right? So the origin, all right, or to make it easier, we just put 0 right there instead of writing 0 or the origin. All right, and then, as I said, what we're going to do is we're going to essentially want to come up with some sort of relationship. Well, as I said earlier, we're going to be graphing coordinates. And if you remember, we had a graph that looked like this. We had some numbers that had the price of gas and the quantity. We had 350 and we had 4. We had 10,000 and we had 8,000. Now, I realize these numbers are pretty basic, so we're going to introduce more numbers. All right, and what we've noticed is, well, everyday observation, the price of gas goes up, there's going to be less gas purchased. Okay? So, what we're also going to do is we're going to create what we call increments. Now in American football, I believe, if I can remember correctly, that the gap in between each line, there's 10 and there's 5 yards. So we're going to make, in this class, we're going to make it really simple. It's not going to look pretty, but it's going to be effective. So what we're going to do is, and what you've realized is, I've made a mistake on purpose. All right? What I've done is, I've said to you that the prices are not going to go on the y-axis. Now, a lot of people are not going to go on the x-axis. All right? Apparently, I didn't have enough coffee this morning. So normally, guys, we talk about cause and effect, right? It rained, so I got wet. It rained, so I bought an umbrella. I exercised, so I lost weight. I studied more, therefore I got better grades. I made more money, therefore I decided to spend more money. So typically what we're saying is the variable that does the causing is typically on the x-axis. Well, economists, we're kind of a crazy bunch of people, and we decided, well, you know what? We're going to put the price of the item on the y-axis. So as if it involves money, where you're literally spending money, whether it's rent, expenses, interest, salary. Anytime money is changing hands, the price of the good, the cost of the good to make it, is going to go on the y. Why? Because economists are funky people. And somebody decided to do that hundreds of years ago, 100 years ago or more, and I'm not going to fight them on that. So normally, guys, the cost, like income, will go on the X. How much money we get to spend goes on the Y. But in this case, we are going to switch it around. So if it involves the price of something, it's always going to go on the Y. And the amount of gas we're going to buy is going to go on the X. So what we're going to do is we're going to play a game of where they're going to meet. So we have 350 and 10. So how are we going to do this? We're going to come all the way across 10, and we're going to come up 350. And to make this even more effective, we're going to give each of these coordinates a name. Because if you think about it, on your phone, they don't give them a name, but you want these coordinates to work so you get to know where you're going. And you're not going down some dark road on Halloween where it's really foggy and you wish you had trusted your instinct sometimes instead of the GPS. But either way, your GPS is normally right. So we're going to call this point A. Okay, now we have 4 and 8. So what we're going to do is we're going to come across 8 and come up 4. And we have point B. We're going to do point C is 5 and 6. What we're going to do is we're going to come across 6, come up 5. It will help if I could put the numbers in here. All right. And then what we're going to do is we are going to come across 4, and we're going to go up 6. Now, people might say, well, wait a minute. Does it really matter which way we do it? And essentially, the answer is yes. So what we're going to do is we're going to have these X, Y coordinates. So people often get confused. I just tell them, look, X comes before Y in the alphabet, and that's how we're going to learn it. So the X number is always going to be first, right? So for example, it's going to be 10,350. And that is how we're going to put the point down. And you might say, I don't think that's important. If you've ever been in a big city and you tell somebody it's 19th and Elm, when it should be Elm and 19th, they're not going to be very happy with you. All right? Well, obviously, phones will help because you could say, hey, where are you, dude? But the idea is we need to make sure we get those coordinates put down correctly. So later on, we are going to do some bit more explanation, and then we're also going to talk to you about a fancy word that is dope, which actually rhymes with the word slope. And I promise never again to use the word dope.